Hello everyone, we're here at Beaver Stadium where Penn State just fell to Ohio State by a 20-13 final score. It was the Nittany Lions' first loss of the season, an 8th consecutive loss against the Buckeyes. Beaver Stadium set an attendance record today, 111,030 fans packed in here to watch the Nittany Lions fall once again to Ohio State. James Franklin drops to 1-10 all time against the Buckeyes. The fans were obviously not upset, a lot of booing, a lot of Fire Franklin chants after the game, things like that. Obviously a pretty heartbreaking loss for Penn State, who couldn't deliver in some clutch situations, left a lot of points on the board with some red zone failures today. Lyle, what did you see from Penn State?
It's just, every time you think that Penn State's got a shot, they don't. They started off great. Field goal by Ryan Barker, a commanding opening drive. Then you had Zion Tracy's first career interception go for a pick six. This place was bumping. You thought the momentum was in its favor right from the jump. Will Howard comes back, leads a touchdown drive, and I believe they scored on their next 3 possessions. And it's the little things that, that could flip the game. I'm sure we'll talk about the last offensive possession later on in this, but late in the second half, final offensive drive, Drew Aller gets picked off, back corner of the end zone, Harrison Wallace. But my big thing is the wide receivers in this one. Obviously, we talked the offseason, we've talked about this enough, but it's just, can they prove it? And they've stepped up in big time moments, depending on who you're looking at. Maury Evans getting Clipper, Julian Fleming, Harrison Wallace. But when the offense in the first half, you had, other than that Harrison Wallace 21-yarder on the final offensive drive, you had Julian Fleming catch a 3-yard pass, and then it was Nick Singleton, who had 5 catches strictly on checkdowns. And I really don't think the offense was good at all today. I think Drew played fine. I mean, obviously he had the bad interception, but it's just...
Which I don't think I blame him for that.
No, not at all. That was a great
kind of It was a 50-50 ball to, I think it was a safety that just came down with a great catch on that one. And a little bit of a questionable call there that they had to go to review for. There were a lot of those throughout this game, but obviously that was one of the big turnovers for Penn State today. The other, a turnover on downs. They got the ball off a Tyler Warren 33-yard run. They get down to first to goal at the 5-yard line with whatever it was, 8 minutes, something like that left in the first quarter. Obviously down by 7 points, you're looking to punch it in, and they got 0 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, and then 0 yards on 4 plays inside the 5-yard line. So they stall out. So they start on the 3-yard line, stall out at the 1-yard line. Ohio State takes over. And then the defense comes out on the field looking to get a big stop and couldn't do anything. Ohio State ran the ball 10 straight times to run out the clock, finish out the game, 20-13 final, give Penn State its first loss of the season. Obviously everyone after the game was pretty disappointed. Franklin, his press conference was cut short. Players' press conferences, obviously pretty emotional. After a big loss like this, they talked a lot about how they truly believe that this was the year they would be able to take down Ohio State. They weren't able to do that. Lyle, who are some of the players that stood out to you specifically on any side of the ball?
Offense, Nick Singleton. We talked about his receiving threat against Wisconsin. Now it's been a huge development. He was the receiver today. Obviously, Tyler Warren really stepped it up in the second half, but I just think you had a game plan to get him the ball. In games like this, when the offense is complacent and you're having Drew scrambling for most of your production, I know you talk about having all these different playmakers, which Penn State's proven, but you got to get him the ball. He's your best player, especially in a game of this caliber. Really has to do it. Defensively, Abdul Carter, 2 sacks, which was it's an interesting one because Abdul showed his dominance off the edge against that weak offensive line that Ohio State's had. It's kind of a revolving door with all the injuries, but then he's got that costly offsides penalty early on in the game, which we hadn't seen since the beginning of the year. Obviously, at the beginning, he was still developing with that defensive end spot, but he's proven he could play it. Obviously, a couple of lapses, and it's just tough because defense. Zachy Wheatley had that big forced fumble on Will Howard. Zion Tracy had that big interception, but then there's times where you just get beat. Will Howard, obviously, that's a really talented offensive group at Ohio State with Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Ibuka, pair of running backs, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Junkins. But my biggest thing was this Ohio State offensive line banged up, injured, and they dominated on the ground. Obviously, you saw Denai Dennis Sutton briefly at the beginning of the game, even though he didn't play at all much after that. But Quinshon Junkins and Travion Henderson kind of had their way in this one, and you could kind of see it at the end of the game where they were just grinding it out, having their way, and Penn State defensive front couldn't do anything about it. And I think this was supposed to be a difference in this game on both sides of the ball, winning in the trenches, and I really think Ohio State that was the difference maker in this one.
Yeah, I think overall I would say Penn State's defense played better than its offense. They made some big plays. Obviously the pick 6 from Zion Tracy to kind of kick off the game, give Penn State a 10-0 lead, and that was it. That was it. That was when Penn State kind of quit playing right there. They lost connection and just just nothing happened after that one. Obviously, the offense kind of stalled out, went cold. Tyler Warren, who Lyle talked about a little bit, came on stronger in the second half, but he didn't have a single catch in the first half, and that's a guy that obviously, he's been a big playmaker for Penn State. They've been pushing for his Heisman conversation. In the press box, we got these nice little packets from Penn State about, Tyler Warren that say best tight end in the country and list out his stats. And, I'm sure the NFL scouts who came in for the game enjoyed having those little pamphlets.
Matthew Ward, another guy was there too.
Right, and so obviously, that's kind of been Penn State's guy, and that's the guy that Drew Aller looks to in times of duress and in big situations. And, we didn't really see that in the first half. Again, no catches. Second half, he got a little bit more involved. I think he finished with 3 catches for 47 yards and had a few runs as well. Obviously, the 33-yarder was a big one. But, he was kind of quiet in the first half. I think I expected a little bit more from him. I think I also expected a little bit more from the ground game today. Nick and Katron didn't do much. Yards per carry, I think, was only 3.8 for Penn State. And Drew Aller was around 50% completion percentage again, which kind of seems to be a theme in big games for him. I didn't think he played particularly bad. I didn't think he played, particularly great either. Like the interception, obviously, we talked about it a little bit, but I don't think that was his fault necessarily. I think, the defender made a great play there, and if maybe if that goes the other way and Harrison Wallace comes down with it, his stat line looks a lot different and looks a lot better there. But like Lyle said, defensively, Abdul Carter, kind of a hot and cold day. He started off kind of slow, and as I was kind of planning out, my coverage for this game, I had written down, Abdul Carter, really bad start. He jumps off sides, and that's something that he was doing the first few games of the season. Kind of got that fixed, and then obviously it comes up to bite Penn State in a big moment. Gives Ohio State a free first down there on I believe 3rd down. And so obviously, that's a key moment right there. Penn State had a couple of those kind of bad moments where they gave up conversions on 3rd down, 4th down because of penalties. There was the Elliott Washington, I think it was an unsportsmanlike conduct call on 4th and 2, I think, that gave them the first down. He broke up a pass, so it would have been 4th down. But instead, and it was a questionable call. I mean, he made the tackle, stood up, kind of stood over the guy, stepped over him, the little Allen Iverson step over, but I didn't think it was egregious. I didn't think he put, an unnecessary amount of kind of emphasis into the step or anything like that, but the refs obviously saw enough there to call it. So just some key moments like that kind of went against Penn State today. I think the silver lining, like obviously if you're Penn State, you're disappointed with the loss and you've got a lot of things to work on. You made a lot of mistakes today. I think the silver lining is you hung in really tight with one of the best teams in the country. You could have easily won this game. And so, that says that you should be able to compete with good teams moving forward. Obviously, Penn State still has a chance to, play in some big-time games. They're probably not going to make the Big Ten championship at this point. This loss most likely eliminates them from the Big Ten championship. I mean, obviously anything can happen, but I think it's going to be Oregon and Ohio State at this point. But if you're Penn State, you're still in line for a playoff spot. And, this was kind of what everybody expected going into the season. A lot of people were, picking Ohio State to win this game anyway. And so that was kind of being, measured in the projections and things like that. And you're still looking at most likely an 11-1 season for Penn State, most likely hosting a playoff game, or at the very least just being in a playoff game, making that field of 12. And so if you're Penn State, you're obviously going to have more big games down the line, at least one. And that you're capable at your best of competing with these great to elite level teams. But ultimately, obviously, they weren't able to get it done today. And against Ohio State, I think it stings a little more knowing, the history against this team and how many times Penn State has been close. But that's it for today's episode. We'll close it out there with our thoughts live from Beaver Stadium. Not live, sorry. Pre-recorded from Beaver Stadium. In Beaver Stadium. Penn State drops to 7-1. Ohio State advances to 7-1. Penn State obviously still has a lot to play for this season, but also, another heartbreaking loss in front of a record-setting crowd in Beaver Stadium for Penn State. So obviously this one's going to stick for a while. But we'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed our analysis, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.